Good morning, everybody. I'm Joycelyn Adams, and I would like to welcome you to our second social media safety, preventing online child abuse. Thank you so much for attending today. We are excited to have you here for the very special presentation regarding online predators. This project came out of the Best Start Central Long Beach office participatory budgeting experience that I participated in a few years ago before COVID. We are happy that you were able to join us today virtually, and we will continue our online series with 2 more sessions this year. The next will be an in-person session at the Michelle Obama Library, March 18th, 2023. And the final will be online, Zoom, April 15th, 2023. I'd like to take a moment to thank those collaborating with us to make this workshop series possible. We'd like to thank Long Beach Unified School District, City of Long Beach Human Dignity Program and the Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force, the Long Beach Alliance for Food and Fitness, known as LABOC, the Long Beach Center for Economic Inclusion, and the nonprofit Transitions in Motherhood. Today's workshop is focusing on online predators. You will hear from experts about the dangers of online safety, predatory behavior, human trafficking, and what is known and what to know about the digital games and apps that kids play today. At the end of our session, we will also hear from the Long Beach Unified School District about their family social media guide. Now, I'd like to introduce Angelica Garcia, one of Long Beach Forward's interns from Cal State University, Long Beach.
Thank you, Ms. Joycelyn. Again, we welcome you guys all today to today's event. I'd like to invite you to please put your name in the chat. Please put in the chat your name, neighborhood.
I guess once the
So I see we have Don Bowman, Alamitos Heights. We have Los Altos, Stanford, Perla Mendoza from Long Beach. We have Michelle Toscano, Newcomb Academy, Adriana from Long Beach. A lot of Long Beach. Okay. So now that I'd like to invite you guys, I would like to invite our Long Beach 4 team and Best Start team to unmute and say hello. So I'm going to name them off. First, we have Melissa Morgan, our Associate Director.
Hey, good morning. I'm actually Communications Director. Nubia will be with us today.
Okay, and then we have Lydia Flores, our Early Childhood Program Manager.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here.
We have Lekana O, our Community Organizer.
Good morning, everyone.
We have Rudy Cardoso, our Communications Coordinator.
good morning, folks. Happy to be here.
And we have Sarah and Cara, our Service Learning students.
Hello.
Hello.
Now I'd like to invite you guys to please put in the chat one word you would use to describe how you feel about playing digital games and apps. So I see people are saying apprehensive, confused, overwhelmed, curious, okay. Yeah, cautious, okay. Socialize, not interested. Oh, these are all very good. So today we are going to have a rich conversation about how to keep your kids safe online. We thank you all for waking up early this morning to join in community together with us and our Best Start team. And now Lydia will share some background about Best Start Central Long Beach.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Angelica. I'd like to share with you all some background on Best Start Central Long Beach and the PB process. Can you please share that video, Rudy? Thank you.
You'll need to share audio. You'll have to reshare your screen. Stop sharing and reshare with audio.
Welcome everyone again. I see some familiar faces and a lot of new ones. So just to explain what Best Start is, we are an initiative of First 5 LA. We are composed of families, community groups, local institutions, and people like you who want to work together to create a community where children under the age of 5 and their families can thrive. So with that in mind, all of the work that comes out of Best Start follows 4 community change agenda goals. So what you can see on the screen are 4 different priority areas that the community decided are very important and prevalent in Long Beach. So all of the projects, all of the programs, all of the types of conversations that we have together are to move forward with all of these goals. So just to go down the list, one of the community change agenda goals is to build community knowledge on child development and parenting skills. The second one is prevent child abuse and neglect. The third is increase access to quality and affordable childcare. And last but not least, the fourth is increase access to quality and affordable housing and economic security. So these are pretty broad because it's so important and it can look a lot of different ways on how we work together to meet those needs for the community. So all of these projects, including this project that has come out of So as you all can see, the purpose of PB, as we like to call it, is to involve the community members in a democratic process in order to allocate a certain amount of funds. Sometimes, well, the first year it was about $400,000, and most recently it was $200,000. So it's to involve the community in a democratic process in order to allocate $200,000 towards those 4 community change agenda goals. And we do that by working with the community directly. A lot of you who know who we are might have been part of that process as early as last year, November, where we start with an idea collection, where we learn what the community wants, how you all want a potential project to look like to meet one of those needs, and then followed by a proposal development phase where all those ideas and those common themes are combined to make an actual specific proposal that has its own timeline, its own budget, its own anticipated outcomes. then followed by voting. So the same community that provided those ideas can vote on those final projects. Finally, implementation. So actually making that paper, that proposal document reality. So this project is a fantastic example of what the community wanted, what the community has designed, and what the community is receiving and understanding and being part of and leading it as well. And an outcome of those is to support children ages 0 to 5 and their families, develop new community leaders, increase resident engagement and empowerment, and diversifying resident community participation. So zooming out, because that's a lot of words, there's a lot of steps. So just zooming out how it actually looks like on a year basis. We start off with the Best Start Central Long Beach team planning out this entire big process that takes about 8-9 months in totality of the year. So Best Start team starts planning. Sometimes it's around October, and then the project actually launches a couple months after that. And then we have the idea collection phase of the process, which is about 2 months. And then that moves into what I was mentioning of those ideas being collected, being organized into specific themes. And that happens the month after that. And that's followed by the proposal development, which is 1 to 2 months where the community comes together in different groups and really hashes out the details of these projects. And finally, it moves into voting and contracts. So in order for that proposal document to be a real thing, we need to have organizations that are in to support and coordinate the entire thing, to work directly with the community. And in order to do that, we need to have contracts. We need to have accountability. We need to make sure that the community is getting what they requested and what they've worked so hard for in the last 8 months. So that's what the PB process is. I don't expect you all to understand, to remember all of that, but this project is something that came out of all of this. And thank you so much, Joycelyn, for leading all of this. And thank you all as participants for supporting this and getting what you all wanted as being part of this process. And that's about it. Thank you. All right, thanks, Past Self. Next, I would like to pass it over to my colleague, Lek. And before I do that, Mel, can you please give me host privileges? Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Lek.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today. So, it's a lot of people coming. Thank you. So I would like to recognize anyone here that is a part of the Best Start Leadership Team or Best Start Network. I see one is Angelica Horios in here, right? And I see a lot of members here, community member that who is joined with the Best Start. So can anyone like Angel, can you unmute and say hello to everyone, please?
Sí, hola, buenos días a todos y gracias por estar acá. Hay que aprender. Gracias.
Okay, thank you so much, Angie. So I recognize a lot of parents that joined the Best Start program. Can anyone raise your hand? Cambodian parent, Latino parent, Spanish speaking parent, please.
Hola, buenos días a todos.
Thank you, Secretary, thank you. Okay, so thank you today. Okay, I would like to hand over to Angelica.
Thank you, Lex. So now we'd like to learn a little bit more about all of you, your children or the children that you guys care for, and some of your ideas about the internet and online gaming. So we are going to start a survey on your computer screens for those of you who are joining us on Zoom today. If you're joining us on social media, feel free to write your answers to the questions in the chat of the live stream. So the first question is, what age range are your children or the children you care for?
Does the poll appear up on the screen? Do people see it? Do you see it, Angelica? Did the poll show up?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
And then the second question is, what concerns you have about the internet and your child? And the third is, how many hours of screen time do you let your child spend each day?
Are people able to click the poll and submit their responses? Okay, I'm sorry. It looks like we're having technical difficulties and folks weren't able to see the poll. We will try it again in a moment. Folks have not been able to see the poll. We're having some technical difficulty. So we'll have to move on. Sorry about that, folks.
All right, and I'd like to introduce my colleague, Rudy.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us this Saturday. So online predators, this is a very serious topic, and the goal of theirs is very simple. It's to coerce, manipulate, and even blackmail children, adolescents, and occasionally adults into performing sexual acts. Predators on social media have become more emboldened than ever. And with the amount of time children spending online these days, it's very important for us as parents, as guardians, uncles, sisters, to keep them safe and out of harm's way. So I'm going to share a few statistics for folks to check out. It's very unfortunate, but there's many people out there to hurt our children, and as many as 500,000 predators pose as a threat to kids daily. And our children aged 12 to 15 are the ones that are most targeted by these predators. And a very small amount of parents are aware of what their kids are doing online. And it's only a small margin at 15%. And most of the internet predators are male, and social media is the primary place where over 80% of child sex crimes begin. Here are some some FAQs, some questions that are frequently asked. How common are online predators? As I mentioned, it's estimated there's around 500,000 active predators on the internet every day, and these numbers are rising with, the increase of online usage due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And I got to reiterate, we got to be more vigilant than ever. And most online predators, they're pretty much anyone from the ages of 18 and above, and they can be both men and women. And the most common victim of online predators, according to the FBI, are children between the ages of 12 and 15. And unfortunately, the mass majority of them being girls. So we have to be very aware of, what our children are doing online and be able to like monitor some of their actions to be proactive in keeping them safe. And here's a little video I would like to share with you all today.
Here, the details of this case, they're disturbing.
And they also expose the dangers facing children playing online games. Brad Underwood is here with what parents can do to try to avoid situations like this. Brad.
Good evening, Paula. Yeah, the case in Northern Kentucky is a prime example of how easy it is for predators to not only find children, but request images and videos of them through online gaming. We spoke to a tech expert who works with parents and schools on how to protect children. He says, sadly, these stories are common, but they can be avoided. No matter the gaming system, there's a common feature. You have the ability to talk or chat with those you're gaming with. The big problem for parents, not knowing who is actually on the other end.
Where does a predator go that's interested in children? They go to video games. They used to go to the schoolyard, right? But they go to video games.
Stephen Smith is the co-founder of A Wired Family. Recent studies he's done prove now more than ever, kids are being approached online and asked questions like, what do you look like? Are you lonely? And can you send me pictures?
61% of young people, 18 and younger, have been contacted by somebody who made them feel uncomfortable because of the conversations that they were having and the things that they were requesting.
Smith knows you can't protect kids from everything, but you can limit exposure. He says parents should use the parental control tools on devices and talk to their kids about expectations.
There are at least a dozen really decent parental controls out there that are going to help manage your child's phone. They're going to help manage your child's console.
But sometimes it's not enough. There is software out there like Discord, an independent app that allows communication across any platform or device. So even if chats and communications are disabled on a console, there's still room for predators to reach children.
26% of the population of kids under the age of 18 use something like Discord. The parents have told me that they didn't even know their child had Discord.
Now, both Smith and the prosecution in that case in Northern Kentucky can't stress enough that you must monitor your child's online time no matter what device. Now, this case dealt with the PlayStation, but Smith says one of the most common problematic devices parents tell him about is a Kindle Fire, which is just as powerful, he says, as almost any device with online access. Paula?
Hard to keep up. Well, thank you, Brad. For more information on parental control devices and apps, go to local12.com.
Here, the details of this.
Rudy, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I forgot to unmute myself. But on this slide, here are some apps that parents should know about. So there's a list here with a little bit of information about what they do. And we will send out all of this information to folks in a follow-up email so that you can refer to later on. But just to have folks aware, these are some that predators use and some that our children use. And unfortunately, online predators take advantage of these things, and we do not want our children to be in harm's way. So I'll pass over the mic on over to you, Ms. Joycelyn, and thank you for listening to me, folks.
Thank you for the information and the video, Rudy. That was incredibly informative. There's so much for us to pay attention to so that we can protect this generation of young people and keep them safe. Now I'd like to introduce our first guest, Tara Faragian, the Executive Director of Transitions in Motherhood.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Thanks for all that wonderful information as well, Rudy. It is definitely hard to keep up with all that is going on. But I hope that this presentation, though brief, can give you several ways to kind of help navigate and guide you as you parent during such a age of social media and electronic development. So if we could go to the next slide. Thank you. That one's, and then the next, okay. So again, my name is Tara Faragian. I'm a mental health therapist, LCSW, and also executive director of Transitions in Motherhood, a nonprofit that offers essentials to those families in need. And I'm also a parent of a 14-year-old and 18-year-old, which I think is where I get most of my education, quite honestly. They're always teaching me new things. So I will be glad to share if there's any questions that come along, please don't hesitate. I'll try to keep up with the chat as well. So objectives for today is to walk away with at least 3 ways to increase the protection of your child and or teen from online predators. Creating an open dialogue and communication with your child or children and or teens, setting boundaries with the devices within the home, and also creating a support network. Because we can't know everything, but it's good to have people we can reach out to when we have questions. All right, next slide, please. So you can see it starts very young. Electronics are around us everywhere. I don't think we can avoid it in any setting unless you create a boundary around it yourself. So just maybe a guiding, I know we have a range of ages that you all are parenting and caring for, but currently the American Academy of Pediatrics offers the following recommendations for screen time. For children under 2 years old, no screen time outside of video phone time. For children 2 to 5 years old. And then for children 2 to 5 years old, limit screens to 1 hour a day. Now, this is what is recommended, but we're going to look at sort of also just the realities. If we go to the next slide, please. Okay, I have a quick poll to kind of see, maybe it's from your experience or just even just a guess of how much time you think the average adult spends on their phone. And if I think we're able to do that in a poll setting. Is that right, Rudy?
We're having poll technical difficulties.
Are
so
we?
yeah, folks would please put in the chat. We'd love to see your responses.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Chat, and I will. So we got a 6 hours, Susan. Thank you. 5 to 6, Joycelyn, Rudy, 12. More than 6. 2, 3.4, 3 to 4. 12. 5 or 6. Okay. Wow, 8. Okay. Shall we do a drum roll and reveal? You all, the majority, I mean, you're all on the same track. The average for an adult is 5 to 6 hours. So I think it's hard because we have so much of our communication, whether it's social, whether it's professional, so much that occurs online. And that if we don't even have our phone, it often can feel like we're missing or forgetting something, almost like an extension of ourselves. And when you do something for 5 to 6 hours regularly, it just becomes habit, right? So if we go to the next slide, we want to look at the numbers of where you think our children, let's see, I think it's, sorry, there's a picture over that question. So just to know that teens have doubled their screen time since the pandemic. I will pull up my
We added it in the
screen.
chat as well. It's in the chat as
Did you?
well.
Oh, okay, thank you. So you can see, kind of guessing how much time for the average teenager spends on technology screen time. So if you could share your kind of guesstimates on that, please share that in the chat so we can see your thoughts. Okay. So 7, 8, 8.5. 8.5 seems to be okay. 2 to 3. Okay. It's kind of like we have a bit of an both sides of the spectrum. We have some parents that are like kind of more on the minimalist of like 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, and then we have the other side of the spectrum of like 7.7, 8.5. So the answer is 7.7. And if you just think of how much time that is, it is, it's a lot. It's a lot of time. And so power of that time and the influence of those messages can be so powerful on our children and on ourselves as we use devices and are on the screens as well. So just like working with the reality of those numbers, I'm going to try to go into some ways to kind of also increase dialogue and find ways to protect our children. If we could go to the next slide. Right. So as a therapist, but I think communication is key in life, but being able to keep up communication and open communication with a child or a teen is really critical, navigating social media. But the open lines of communication will help your child come to you if they feel unsafe with anything that occurs online or off. Reserving judgment as a parent or caretaker, trying to contain a reactive response to what your child chooses to share with you, and just be able to listen to their concerns. And then communicate with your child about the concerns you have regarding being online. And when and if they come in contact with unexpected content, use it as a teachable moment. A lot of times, content can come into their contact and it's nothing they initiated. They didn't do anything wrong. It may have just been a platform that was easily navigated by a predator or a bully. And it's really not their fault. And that their ability to talk to you about it enables you to work with them to create a safe environment online. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? So sharing time with the screen is also ideal. So then you have direct exposure to whatever contact your child or children or whoever you're caretaking for, you're there with them side by side navigating. A great approach, this is what I did also with my children who are now teens, was to really establish a contract whenever they have a social, any kind of device that they're using. And you all are at a great kind of age of parenting where even if they've had some introduction, you still can introduce this at any time. So the contract, and there's a lot of great ones just online. You can just Google contracts for social screen time, phones, devices. And what it does is it just kind of sets a parameter and a boundary on what we're comfortable with and what our child can then have a boundary to feel comfortable with as they navigate devices. So setting time limits on the devices may vary weekdays versus weekends. Maybe setting a time when devices are turned off. Screen-free zones. So there may be areas, maybe at the dinner table, where everyone's devices disappear and it's just pure one-on-one, face-to-face contact. Charging devices in common areas. As your children get older, they often will go to their rooms and be on their devices, and then they'll charge their devices and there's just like no break. So having the charging station outside can kind of break that up. What must take place before a device can be used, such as like your homework, your chores, screen time exceptions during vacations or you're homesick. Ask for permission before any apps or anything is downloaded onto the device. Never disclosing personal identifying information online, such as never encouraging them, do not share your name, your address, your phone number, even the school you go to. Protect sleep hygiene by removing or turning off phone an hour or more before bedtime. I don't know if you all have kind of just also seen, a lot of like melatonin and things that are helping children find sleep when they're struggling. A lot of it can be the exposure to the light of the screen, which shifts the circadian rhythms, allowing the mind and the brain to be alerted as if it was daytime sunlight, and then not being able to unwind when it's time to go to bed. Clear consequences if the contract is broken. Have contracts signed by both child and parent. Let's see. Also, taking pictures. We have a rule that you don't take a picture without the consent of whoever the picture may be taken of. And also knowing that any picture that may be put online or within a chat, just be ready to feel comfortable that that picture would be exposed to the entire world. Would you still be okay? So that's sometimes a good kind of starting point. Like, don't take pictures that you wouldn't share with everyone in the whole family, plus the neighbors, because nothing is guaranteed as confidential. If we could go to the next slide, please. Okay. So numerous studies have suggested that unlimited use of technology can have a negative effect on a child's emotional intelligence, their temperament, and social development. And in fact, there is a national movement supported by top technology innovators that strongly recommend children do not have smartphones until the age of 14 or 8th grade, and are not given a data plan until age 16. The movement is called Wait Until 8th. So these are parameters coming from those who are producing technology. And I don't know if you've ever watched, like say, a lot of the creators of cell phones and technology do not allow their children to be on it at all. And they're the ones that have the most knowledge. So it really is a challenge to navigate for all. So we could go to the next slide. Okay. Putting parental controls on devices can be put on your cell phone carrier, software, and then those can limit content. Even YouTube, I know that can be a common watching videos. You can put on YouTube a filter that only content that is for children or younger. So if you could just consider that as an opportunity. Chat rooms, forums, and games allow for real-time interaction with others. And if anything feels uncomfortable, ask your child to tell you and stop communication immediately. Okay. Next slide. And how are we doing on time?
Looking good.
Doing okay? Okay. Some safety practices online. Remind your child to avoid clicking on links, attachments, or spam that does not identify a sender that you know. Do not respond to suspicious messages. And if anything feels uncomfortable, to let an adult or caretaker know right away. And that's, again, to be included in the contract. All right. Next. Okay. And I do want to honor some questions here. I did see, I'm sorry, I just lost it. I think it was talking about the Chromebooks.
Yeah, school district Chromebooks are in homes, but are managed by the district. So families can't disable sites as far as they've been able to see, or enable any kind of parental control app is a concern that was shared.
Yes. So here's the other very important point is that our academic platforms of schools are using electronics. So to be screen-free is pretty impossible if you're going to a public school. So the Chromebooks, which don't hold data, right? They're all apps and they are controlled by the school. If you do, I think it's important to have conversations with the school regarding any of the content or the apps that they're using, to also check them, explore them on your own without your child, just to kind of see what that content is. I mean, the schools take great precaution and put a lot of safeties in place, but nothing is 100%, and that's what any innovator in technology will tell you. All the platforms, they're to have mass numbers of people. That's the goal. So the ability to filter through, there is not any one single filter or vetting system that is out there that can guarantee that full protection. So I think having that communication, open dialogue with the school is going to be very important. And then once the device is brought into your home, you're in charge of it. You're supervising it too. You can remove it. Even if homework needs to be done on it, it's your call. So another one, last here, I think, is number 5. And this is really difficult, and I'll say challenging for me and my husband as well, is that we set the tone in our home regarding electronic devices. Our children are always paying attention to what we do and how we use electronics. Being aware of how we model the use of electronics, set screen-free times and zones within your home, and hold yourself accountable to maintain and model these expectations. And be, completely honest when you're struggling with your technology in front of your child. Say, you know what, I am waiting for an important email. I'm having a conversation. I need a response. So I'm going to need to check my phone until I get that information. And then at some point really saying, you know what, I'm putting my technology aside and I'm going to have a screen-free zone to be with you and to connect with you. Okay, and Perla had a great recommendation, just turning off the Wi-Fi from kids' devices from 10 p.m. to 12 p.m. That is a wonderful way. Sometimes there's, depending on your child's device, they can go on to someone else's Wi-Fi. So just knowing, or just, you know, obviously checking in their device, that too can be foolproof. But it's ongoing. I wanted to just get everything also. Yeah, for Rosario, talking about just when it's time for dinner, we put our phones away. When we eat, we come together. And that's a screen-free zone. Thank you for that. I don't know, am I missing? Yeah, thank you, Rosario. Any other questions or comments? Have I missed anything in the chat? Rudy, Melissa, if you see anything, please let me know. Let's see that if we go to the next slide as well, I think we're. So creating a supportive community as you navigate parenting in such a dynamic time. We can't know everything, but having people you can turn to with questions to get support in this journey makes it so much easier. So I think that's something. Weekends, nobody turns on the TV until after 12. This is a big one for me. No phones when we eat. Yes, Perla, thank you. I mean, even doing this presentation, I'm a therapist. I reached out to my brother-in-laws who are in IT and technology, and I need them in this journey to figure this out. And I have called upon them, as we've parented our children, because I know it's not my expertise. I was born in mid-70s where, technology was at such a different place. And the amount of growth in my lifetime is, you wouldn't even imagine how much. I couldn't have imagined how much growth. So having platforms like this, that you can get education, you can reach out, have others with the expertise as well to reach out to. How do you balance child's autonomy as they age, managing internet safety? Yes, that's a very good. This may be outside the scope of this presentation, but for example, cell phones, laptops, tracking. I would like to answer that a little bit. Do we have another slide?
Tenía otro, pues eso no tenía una como de
Be
tocador.
kind to yourself. Parenting is not easy. And I think that question in balancing your child's autonomy, it's a lot about like trust, right? Trusting and wanting your child to know that you have trust in them, but that you don't trust what's out there. And you're trying to navigate what is best for them and safest. I don't check my children's phone every day. And that's within our family, and that's the trust that has been built. However, if, trust was broken, then we'd start from scratch all over, you know? I try to give the benefit of the doubt, and know that they're struggling to figure this out themselves, and that I rather have the conversation rather than block, the communication. So I know that's not really a solid, definitive answer, but I think having constant dialogue, just sitting next to your child when they're on their phone, see if they close it real quick, like things like that can be like, that's curious. Is there something you wouldn't feel comfortable showing me? And if they're not open, that may cause you to do a little bit more research. Okay. I don't know if I fully answered. I know I didn't fully answer that, but I hope that gives a little bit of a barometer to guide. How are we doing on time?
Doing well.
Doing well. Do we have time for any more questions? If there's questions.
About 15 more minutes. You're good to go.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So there is another piece I would want to share in regards to the apps. Because there's a lot of like free apps that are out there. Because I know a lot of times a child can't purchase an app without the parent. So there are apps that can be downloaded for free. And what I found to be kind of concerning is not necessarily the content of the app, but the content of the ads that are on the app. So if you are open to downloading a new app for your child or anyone you're caring for, to test it out yourself. And it's not necessarily what's advertised on the app, such as the game or whatever it may be. It's the advertisements that are put on there that may have sexual content. And even though it may be cartoon, just can be inappropriate. And that's something I found that I did not, I learned the hard way. So that's one trick. Also, as Rudy kind of showed in previous slides, there's a calculator app, and it advertised, like if you just look at it, oh, thanks. You want to pull that up? Yeah, so see this calculator one right here? Yes. It's actually nothing to do with a calculator. It's actually is for videos, photos, can hide browser history. So, in a quick moment, your child may say, oh, Mom, can you download this calculator app real quick? And you're like, oh, calculator, okay. And it's so hard because it's not what it's advertised to be. Yes, Joycelyn, this app's hiding. Yeah, it's pretty, it's sophisticated, it's not what it seems. I think some of the Snapchat and TikTok are huge in my teens' lives. And there's it's not always just the content, it's the algorithms that the inventors create that create it as addicting. So if you're on TikTok and say you really like, cats dancing, you can the TikTok will start to gear the material that they show you in that direction because they know it'll keep you engaged longer. So a lot of times that addictive tendency, it's written into the inventor's, program. Just as they're watching you, how long you may look at a video and then say, oh, that's what she likes. So we're going to kind of put more of that in their feed. So that's where, I mean, and it's happened to me where I was just going to look at something really quick, and all of a sudden, like 5-10 minutes, 20 minutes pass. And it's just this, they know how our mind works, and they create the apps in accordance with that. So having breaks, having those free zone screen times, can really just help get out of patterns that can be really hard to get out of once you're in. And I think with COVID particularly, as you saw from one of my slides, our teenagers doubled their screen time. And part of it, you know, they were maybe even their whole academics were online. So there's these benefits of platforms, and there's also the risks that we are just constantly weighing. I know that WhatsApp is also quite international. Like, WhatsApp is a platform, we have family in different countries. So a lot of times you may get someone who says hi to you that is on the other side of the world, which could be kind of like curious, right? But the intentions, I think WhatsApp is something you really want to watch, and it may be used within family that live in, that live far away, but that it does open you up to dialogue from far away lands. I think these were great too. There's also, some are dating apps, right? There are people that do use the internet to look for partnership. And so it can be curious for our children to wonder what that's like. So just being aware. I would, if you can, take a screenshot of these, and even maybe take a moment, if you haven't explored these, to just check them out yourself. And I think also, as was spoken about, the schools also having different workshops and educational workshops for parents. So Joycelyn is sharing that she's had social media stalkers demand that I download WhatsApp to talk to them. Okay, so thank you. I'm sorry to hear that, but that's exactly kind of what speaking to that. WhatsApp is a different way to track conversation, and it can come from so many different directions that it becomes untrackable. So I think it's great that you were able to kind of see through that, and then think of like, how would our 12-year-old navigate that? And the goal would be, as soon as they feel uncomfortable or they have a contact with someone they don't know, that they let you know straight away, and that they're not punished or blamed, but that you have an open conversation, and just even honor, like, that must have been scary. You're in maybe even the privacy of your own home, and somebody is, breaking that boundary. It can be very violating and very scary for our kids. Let me see. Any other questions? Please feel free. I'm trying to see if I've missed anything. Is there? Okay. So if you can't conversate with me where we are, that raised suspicion, but kids can be gullible, right? I'm reading this in the chat. I think this is from Joycelyn. Because he was very nice and they can be so polite when they're asking for pictures. And that another piece I know I spoke to Melissa about is the AI component that's coming into our technology, where it's all automated, artificial intelligence, where a child can have a conversation with an AI. So a technological creation. And there's more and more ways where that can actually, what it does is just try to create relationship between the AI and the child. And the responses, whatever the conversation, the AI may have the ability to present as empathic, concerning, and therefore maybe create an emotional connection with our child to an entity that's really just a computer. So I know that conversation is coming up more and more, and it's out there. It's already out there. My daughter has shown this to me. So that may be even something to just talk to your child about, you know, and say, who are the people in your life that you have, you know, personal conversations with? You know, who would it be? Someone that you know in person, that's in our family, someone that maybe your parents know, have met. It's sort of like, you know, if your child was going to go over to a friend's house, you'd want to know who that friend was, maybe talk to their parents, maybe have that phone number of the parent. Same thing with online. They're going into these rooms with others to chat. You want to know who they're chatting with. You want to talk to them about, you know, is this someone from school, or this is someone at school who invited another friend? It's trying to create connection, regardless if it's a screen or not, who is on the other side. So let's see, Facebook accounts with fake ages. So it looks like other apps too. Yes, Namrasai, that very good point. It is, and my kids have their own social accounts, and I don't know the kids or parents because they are from school. Then they are posting stuff with my kid, but I can't even really get access to it because I have no idea how to meet the parent. That is complex. I guess what I would start with the information that you do know. So if there is any connection that you're seeing your child have, to ask to know this person before more communication can continue. If there's pictures being shared without permission, that's like outside the contract rule, right? Like others are not allowed to post pictures of you without consent. And this is going out in social media. So there's a breach of our contract. We need to look at how to make this safer. Questions about apps and other social media issues. Okay, there's the point of, like, I'd say at your schools, or even like these platforms where you can also keep in contact with those that are presenting. But I will tell you, I learned the most from my nieces and nephews. Like, I will ask them, like, what is going on out there? Like, tell me, what's the newest app? What they're the ones that know and know how to navigate. And then, you know, having people that maybe are in the IT world, reaching out to them. I know that even if you were to Google support, even 211 may have some resources as well. I like this, the class roster of all the names of the children and parental contacts. This used to be kind of like a natural thing to do. And that kind of, I don't know, maybe due to confidentiality, schools don't do it, but you can do it of your own accord. Like, I'm doing this as a parent, I want to create a school roster. The school may not be able to provide it for you, but if you do it of your own initiative, schools have their own Facebook page. So that's a way to kind of connect with other parents. So I know we're just about at time. But I do want to just thank you all for your time and attention, and you know, the fact that you are joining this this workshop is a sign that you are active. And we don't have to know everything, but we can continue to seek that knowledge. So I'm grateful for this time, and be kind to yourself in this process.
Thank you, Tara, for that important presentation. That I see how everyone here is engaging. There's a lot of great questions, a lot of great conversation as well. So thank you so much for that very, very important presentation. To thank all of you for taking time out of your day and away from your children this morning, we would like to offer some prizes for a few lucky people who have come. We have some gift cards that we will be giving away to a few people today, and we have even more prizes at future workshops. So we hope that you will all come back to our in-person session in March. So what we're going to do is enter all of the names here who are on Zoom today, and we will spin a virtual wheel to find 3 winners right now. And after the winners are selected, the winners will receive special instructions to pick up the gift card. So if I can share my screen, please, and we will get that going. Alrighty, so this is with updated attendance of who is here, and let's start the raffle. So we have, first winner is, there you go, Diane Jones. Congratulations, Diane Jones. Let's make sure that you are here. Yes, you are here. Lovely. Thank you so much, Diane Jones. Let's make sure that we write that name down, and then we can go on to the second person, which is oh, that was a close call. Betty. Congratulations, Betty. You just received a gift card as well, and you are still here, so thank you. A lot of great information to not miss out on. And last but not least, for this group of raffles, we have oh, so close, Michelle Toscano. Congratulations, Michelle. Let's just make sure that she is here, and she doesn't seem to be here, so we can try that one more time. And maybe someone who is still here can receive one. Oh man, that is, these are just cutting it so close. Sarah Walkowitz. Sarah, congratulations. So we have 4. Thank you so much. and we will continue on to the next part of the presentation. So now I'd like to bring back Ms. Joycelyn to introduce our next guest.
Congratulations to all our winners. Thank you for being here. Now I'd like to welcome back our guest, Patrick Erlandson, who attended our first social media safety webinar. He gave us some extraordinary information. Patrick is a founding member of the City of Long Beach's Human Trafficking Task Force and the founder of Father Khan. Patrick, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me back. I'm always really grateful.
Hey, Patrick, you're gonna have to choose the globe icon at the bottom of your screen for translation interpretation. Choose English and then go back one more time and select mute original audio.
Mute original audio. Okay. Am I in?
You are good to go. Thanks.
Technology, you gotta love it. There is just so much to learn about technology. I'm so grateful to be here and to be back. Human trafficking has sadly only gotten worse over the COVID years. And I think there's just so many things that are just really important for parents to understand, because human trafficking has really shifted and changed and morphed with the times that we're living in. So I want to jump right in. Can we put up my slides? Okay, so this is the first one. So this is myself and my family, my two daughters. We can go to the next one. I think, my introduction to human trafficking came from kind of an international perspective, like seeing what was happening outside of the country, and then was really brought home when I started meeting survivors of trafficking here in the Los Angeles area. And that's when I connected to to working with the Long Beach Human Trafficking Task Force, which at that time was extremely small and kind of grew into a much larger collaborative of community members, law enforcement, different organizations and agencies here. And then that was kind of spinned off into my working with Men Standing Against Trafficking, and really trying to engage more men in the issue of human trafficking. I want to go over this. There's many definitions out there of human trafficking. All of them are kind of similar. They all kind of overlap. But this one, the TIP, is used now for trafficking in persons. So this is a crime that involves compelling or coercing a person to provide labor or services, or to engage in commercial sex acts. The coercion can be subtle or overt, physical or psychological. Exploitation of a minor for commercial sex is human trafficking regardless. There doesn't have to be any proof of force, fraud, or coercion. This is really important, because during COVID, one thing that started to happen was you started having landlords, like if the person was having trouble paying their rent because now they were suspended from their work and they couldn't pay their rent. You had landlords then saying, look, if you'll have sex with me, then I'll let you continue to live in your apartment. And so these things were also forms of exploitation, taking advantage of a person, that were really ugly, at a time of great vulnerability and fear that people were living in, to have people then kind of use that as a way to get sexual favors, or even to entice people. Like if you had a single mother with children, then a lot of times they were being brought in and being sold to other people in order to keep their apartments. Another thing to keep in mind is that not all exploitation is human trafficking. People manipulate and exploit other human beings in a lot of ways that wouldn't qualify as human trafficking. It's basically any kind of exploitation is taking advantage of a vulnerability, which is, just one of the most, horrid things that can happen to you when you're at your most vulnerable place, when you're in a place of insecurity and already you're suffering, and then to have someone take advantage of that in a way that really causes you harm, or causes harm to your family. I never forget one of the first survivors I met. She was growing up with her single mother's boyfriend, was living with the family, and she was, I believe, around 12 years old at the time. And then the mother's boyfriend came into her room, sat down on the bed with her, and started to touch her, and she just totally panicked. And then the mother came into the room. The mother saw what was happening, and the mother, not wanting to lose having this boyfriend, she ended up just closing the door and letting him have his way with the daughter, which then caused her to run away from home and into the arms of a human trafficker. And it was just that creating this environment where a child feels so hopeless and so helpless that human traffickers really take advantage of. Let's see, we can go to the next slide. I do want to talk about, there's things about human trafficking. So there's 4 basic components of human trafficking. One is the trafficker. The trafficker himself can be both men and women. There's a lot of women who also engage in trafficking others just for the money, that they can make a tremendous amount of money. There were 3 teenage girls in Canada that were arrested for trafficking other classmates. They basically just wanted the money, and they saw this as a way of getting the bling bling that they wanted. So they took advantage of other children in their school who were weaker and that were exploitable. So there are both men and women who do traffic, and increasingly, from what I've heard, is over 50% of trafficking is occurring from a family member. So it can be a father, it can be an uncle, it can be your mother that's actually doing the trafficking and having their child go out and be used by others. We just had our FatherCon, our 4th FatherCon we just held in Downey on February 11th. And one of our keynote speakers was a woman who was trafficked by her father. And it was something that was, carried down by the grandfather, the father, and then, or the great grandfather, the grandfather, and then her father who trafficked her. And it was something that became part of their family culture. The victims can be male and female as well. We're seeing increasingly numbers of boys that are being reached out to and trafficked. And a lot of that is through social media, the bringing in boys to be trafficked. The buyers are primarily male. And this is one reason for me, I really wanted to go after the male population, because they're the buyers. If there aren't buyers, you don't have a need for the product. And then the 4th are the facilitators. And that can be like an individual. I know a guy, a director in Hollywood who, he just kept getting pushed by all of his friends, like, go pay for sex. It's so great. You'll have a good time. No, there's no victim here. So it was kind of individuals that were kind of encouraging the behavior. We so often hear this, like, boys will be boys, and this nudge, nudge, wink, wink within the male world that allows this kind of behavior to continue. But it can also be hotels that just turn a blind eye and allow their facility to be used for human trafficking. And then social media platforms. You have platforms that are designed, as Tara did such a brilliant job of exposing a lot of the apps and different things that are being used in really devious ways to enable this to happen. So you do have social media platforms that are allowing trafficking to occur, through their platform. So those are all the facilitators. They're not actively doing the trafficking, but they're enabling it to happen. And then a trafficker has to do several things. He has to identify a victim, someone that he wants to go after. He has to contact that person. He has to groom them so that they'll be able to be trafficked. And then he has to put them out there. And so that process is extremely important. And you'll see that as we look at what's happening with social media, how traffickers have really upped their game, and they have now access to pretty much anyone who's online. They just have to weed out which people are vulnerable enough for them to exploit. I think in the past we had this concept of pimps. I know I did when I grew up. It was like the concept of the pimp was that this is the guy that protects the girls who want to be prostitutes. He's the one who's keeping them safe. I think that with all that we understand today, and it doesn't take very much digging to find out that that's really not the case. I will never forget this chilling I was at a conference where they showed the text messaging between a trafficker and this a very young teenage girl that was being trafficked. And the messaging was she was begging not to work that day because she was on her period, and she was just cramps and she was bleeding and she was having so much pain, and she's begging her trafficker to not make her work that day. And his response was anything but compassionate. And I think when I talked to one survivor, a couple of years ago, and she was talking about Christmas time and how there were all these girls were out in the streets working crazy hours being used. And she said, yeah, they're out there because the trafficker has to buy Christmas presents for his children. So he's making the girls work these extended hours and putting them at greater risk so that he can then buy presents for his kids. But the concept of the pimp as being the somehow benevolent or, guy who's just helping these poor girls and women do what they really want to do has been proven to be extremely false and a very dangerous way of thinking about them. There's a lot of background reasons that the vulnerability is as it is that enables so many children. I mean, the numbers of children who are responding to traffickers and being drawn into various degrees of being exploited is extremely high now. And I think for me, that one reason I started FatherCon was because I really saw this connection to fatherlessness, where we have a tremendous number of girls and boys who are growing up with something lacking that traffickers are easily able to take advantage of. They just fill that role. These are some of the more recent images. We're changing the language, so we now use pimp as this kind of pimp my ride. We use it in a lot of different contexts that make it seem like not such a bad thing. It's kind of cool to pimp something. You've had, the images of Snoop Dogg at the MTV Awards, singing the song PIMP with 50 Cent, and he's leading around girls with choke chains and on stage, exemplifying this this sense of control. It's just really disturbing what's happening with the changes and what's happening now currently with making human trafficking, making pimping something that seems not as harmful as it really is. Almost all children today have vulnerability. Parents are busy. We have a lot of things going on. And so there is and just the numbers of divorces. We find so many children growing up in divorced homes where the messaging that they're getting, what their understanding of why the divorce happened is so often related to themselves. And we just recently had a film on cyber safety that we showed at a theater in Downey. And it kind of exposed a lot of things. We had a panel discussion and everything. We were all done. I was wrapping up and thanking everyone for coming. And a girl stood up in the very back of the theater and she goes, well, I've never shared my story before, publicly, but can I say something? And then she shared about how, her father walked out on the family on Mother's Day and she really loved her dad and it was just shattered her. And so here was this now gaping hole of love that was now missing in her life. And she met this guy online, and for 1 year they developed this relationship where she thought this was the person who really loved her the most. This was the replacement for her father's love. And she developed this incredible bond with this boy. And then after 1 year, they agreed to meet. Anyway, it turned into something extremely, extremely ugly, damaged her to the point where she ended up trying to commit suicide several times. She just went to a place of just real self-harm. And I think this is the thing that I've found is that if you damage that relationship between the father and child, that there is a vulnerability that's just opened up, that the way that children respond to that is by seeking kind of self-harm, which leads them directly to a trafficker. Traffickers know exactly how to talk to a child who's vulnerable or angry or feels lonely. They know exactly what to say and do. And internet has changed everything. You have access to pretty much everyone's child in so many different ways. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. I think too, the thing with anonymity, the problem with anonymity is that we now have, seemingly, a really good person. And this, a lot of cases, these are men, but because of the anonymity, you start to explore, you start to challenge, try new things that you would never do if people knew who you were. But you can create a false profile. You can do things with this sense of security that you're anonymous and unknown. And that's creating people who are engaging in behavior that's really harming children. And it's a step-by-step process. You just get in, once you start to feel like I can try this, or you hear something, then you try it yourself and you go into areas that result in sextortion. We've had more and more like men who are making fake profiles that are now asking children, they engage with children, pretending to be someone very young, and then asking for, naked photographs of them, which then allows them to exploit that child in many ways, including human trafficking. We can go to the next slide. I've always been struck by this quote, like, internet pornography is the greatest unregulated social experiment in human history, with 24/7 access to anyone with an internet capable device of any age. There is very, very little being done with age verification, although that's been on people's radar for years and years, trying to make it more difficult for minors to have access to hardcore pornography. Just the other day, I'm a teacher, and I had a class with a student. I was doing a private tutoring class, and I tried to research something, and I put in with a word without putting in periods, and what popped up was a whole screen full of pornography. I mean, just instantly. And so many of our children are accidentally stumbling into, pornography. They're not even looking for it, but they're being exposed to pornography. If we go to the next slide. So now you have the average age of children that are being exposed to pornography is the average age is 11, which means we have children that are 8. I read a report of a 6-year-old whose older brother had showed him porn. He couldn't get out of his head. This was like for years and years and years, an addiction that kept growing in him. And then he had gotten married, and he thought that when he got married later, it would all go away, and it doesn't. It stayed with him into his marriage and caused all kinds of problems there. The increase in porn activity after 3 o'clock when kids are coming home is extremely high. And then this one really tore me up was just a forensic nurse who was handling sexual abuse cases, and 40% of those cases were child on child, and they were boys acting out what they saw in porn, on a little sister or on a classmate. This is the result of the exposure to pornography. Next slide. So pornography really intersects with human trafficking very dramatically. I mean, it creates and normalizes a sense of entitlement that this is what I should be enjoying. This is what, is going to make my life really happy, is to have this kind of sexual activity constantly. Wives and girlfriends don't provide it, therefore you need to, pay for sex. But also the really damaging thing is that it really undermines any sense of intimacy. It creates this self-entitlement where another person exists solely for my gratification and my pleasure. And when we start looking at other human beings that way, it enables us to engage in all kinds of really harmful and terrifying behavior. What if that becomes normalized for you? And I think this is where, what Tara explained about the algorithms where things are directed to you. This is exactly the porn industry. Really, it hijacks your dopamine release to your brain. They know exactly how to pinpoint and how to escalate what you're going to watch and what you're going to be stimulated by. So people who are watching porn on a regular basis, your appetite, what is attractive to you, will change. It's changed by an industry that wants to, draw you in and keep you hooked. I mean, the friend of mine works in Bangkok, and we have men coming from Europe and America to have sex with 12-year-old boys that are not gay, but they want this experience because this is stuff that they've watched in porn, and it's opened them up to a desire for experiences that they don't have at home. It's used for training victims. So many of the girls that I've talked to who are survivors of trafficking, porn was used to show them what to do. And also their customers were coming and saying, look, this is what I want to do to your 13-year-old body, is what I'm seeing here in porn. And also, as porn has become increasingly violent and humiliation centered, I mean, this is not the Playboy of, not Playboy magazine pornography. This is, violence, it's choking, it's a lot of different things that are being depicted. And so you need performers who are willing to put themselves, have that done to them, or they can't resist, they can't reject it. Like they're being forced by their trafficker to do this performance because the trafficker is making money from them doing it. Another thing that I gave a presentation once on incest within pornography, and there's like a 4,000% increase in the production of incest themed pornography over the last 5 years. And it's also one of the most sought out keywords or genres of pornography by the millennials is incest porn. So then that's filtering down to an 8 or a 10-year-old who's now saying, well, this brother and sister are having sex and they're really enjoying it. So we're sending a messaging that's really kind of changing the attitudes and kind of the self-concept of children around this. Next slide. So the internet and social media, this is really where a lot of the grooming now for human trafficking is occurring through social media sites. I think some of this started with Is Anyone Up? Was a website that was created back in the early 2011 or something, 2012, and then it was brought down in 2015. And that was a precursor then to what Pornhub took over, which is, you get angry at your girlfriend and you post everything, you film stuff with her and you post it now on a global platform for her to be exposed to everyone. This just insidious kind of that Pornhub was showing actual rapes of teenage girls and not taking them down even when it was exposed that that's what was happening. So social media really plays an important part now in escalating the exploitation of human beings and especially children through games. Through games like even Roblox, like you have a child's game where you're playing with unicorns, and it seems like what would be a safer place for children to be than that. But we have the traffickers make a fake profile, and they'll find ways of doing this. If you don't understand like how they can make a fake profile with a picture of themselves as an 11-year-old, and then they'll befriend one of your friends and then her friends and friends. So they launder their identity through making friends with people whose obsession is with being liked and being being appealing. So you have people who are willing to accept a stranger as a friend, but then what they're doing, they have access to all of your friends, and then they, so after you get 3 or 4 mutual friends, then this is no longer a stranger. And the whole concept of a stranger to young people today is very different from in the past. So they now feel like, oh, this person, there's four of my friends are friends with them, so they're not a stranger. And so then they add them. And then it's very easily they can see what school you go to. All you have to do is just send a message saying, oh, I saw you today at school. And oh, you looked really cute today. And it's like, oh, I looked cute. Yeah. And you saw me at school. Fine. You're not a stranger. And then they accept them and become friends with them. And then things escalate from there. Even to the point where, we've had girls who are in school and the trafficker saying, I got a customer for you outside. So you get out of your class right now and come out and service this person in their car, during class. And it's the access to children now is just frightening. I even had, I had somebody try to add me on my Facebook account, and he listed that he was a part of the Long Beach Human Trafficking Task Force. And when I looked at his profile, all he was doing was advertising women down in Mexico. So they'll put something on their profile that makes them seem like, oh, this is somebody that I can relate to. This is someone that is like me. And then you open yourself up to them, and then they have access to all of your friends. They have access to your account. So these are things to be very conscious and aware of. These are some sites that I would recommend. There's a lot of others. Please contact me. I can provide you with some information of other places that you can go. The third talk is really great for parents, to how to talk to your children about pornography at an age appropriate level. Bark is good for controls on your phone and on your media. Defend Young Minds also, they put out a book called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, and it really helps parents like how to talk to your kids about things that they're being exposed to that can lead them into relationships that can result in human trafficking or being exploited. I'm sorry, I'm rushing through this. But there's a lot of other really good sites. I would think, there's two things that I really emphasize, and that's, as parents, we want to trust our kids, but the first precursor to that is we have to be trustworthy as parents. And that means we also have to be vulnerable. We have to not just kind of present like we know all the answers to everything, because quickly children see through that and they lose trust in us. If we lose trust in our kids, they go to YouTube and they go to porn to learn about the things that they're hearing about and being exposed to. It's absolutely critical that as parents, we maintain a trust relationship with our children by being trustworthy. So that's learning how to control ourselves and dominate our use of technology is really, really important. These are some things to watch for, like changes in mood, where kids are suddenly they're becoming more fearful, they're more submissive, they're tense, they're paranoid, they isolate more, they stop seeing their old friends. They start having material things that you didn't buy for them and they shouldn't have. Sometimes iPads, an extra phone. They start coming home with things. Those are all signs that there's a relationship being built that they're not sharing with you. When they start being secretive, Tara mentioned this too, suddenly they close their phone as soon as you walk in, or they shut their computer. Those things that you start to have a conversation where you're not threatening. A lot of parents make this mistake where it's like, I'm going to take your phone away, which is tantamount to killing a child today. But if you come in threatening, your kids are not going to trust you and open up to you. So there needs to be kind of allowing kids to talk, because they do have questions. They're being exposed to things that they can't handle. And they do want to talk to a trusted adult, but they want to do it in a way that they're going to feel safe and not, under threat of punishment. So how to have those conversations is really important. On an escalated level, you have physical injuries, you have, wearing clothing. Suddenly they're wearing clothing that's just totally not them and not appropriate for their age or whether. Next slide. So Father Con, I really try to address these things, for the individual as men, on a family level and community level. Fathers are incredibly important. And as on this call, we have mostly women here, but to recognize that the father's role is really important in the lives of their children, and to not undermine a father's relationship to the children unless that father is really abusive or causing some problem. But we really need to recognize the significant impact that a father has on children's vulnerability and also on their sense of entitlement. We have so many boys that are coming out of our homes feeling entitled to kind of, especially a sexual experience that they're not. Next slide. Is that, yeah, so the last Father Con we had was amazing. We had Father Greg Boyle of Homeboy Industries as the keynote speaker. It's a very diverse group of people with trainings. We give a Heart of the Father award, recognizing men who have done exceptional things as fathers. We need to really kind of celebrate and support the significant role that fathers play if we really want to get ahead of producing children who are really vulnerable and entitled, leading to the expansion of human trafficking. Next slide. And that's it. So please contact me. I'm kind of rushing through this. I'm sorry, 20 minutes is a little bit difficult. And I know I already went over time. I'm so sorry. There's a lot to unpack here. But yeah, things like the video games, really important to stay on top of them. Be trustworthy and listen to your kids. Traffickers, they'll invest a year of listening to your child and listening to children so that they can then weaponize listening as a way to exploit and take advantage of young people. So please, incorporate listening, in your relationship with your children. Thank you so much. I hope to hear from you.
Thank you, Patrick, for that heavy but crucial presentation. Again, thank you all for being here and making time to learn uncomfortable statistics and information to best protect your families in this digital age. We want to continue raffling prizes for participants that have stayed on, have continued learning and asking great questions. So just as before, we will have 3 more winners in this workshop for the raffle, and I will share my screen again. All right, and here we go. So the first winner is, well, the 4th winner today is, there you go, Nam Zabrai. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, but oh, she might not be here right now, so we can do that again for the 4th winner. And who can this be? The suspense. All right, Perla Mendoza. Perfect. Congratulations, Perla.
Thank you.
And yeah, no problem. And you will also receive special instructions to pick up that gift card. So who is the 5th? Leanne Clark. Congratulations. Thank you so much for being here. And last but not least for today is the 6th winner. Who will it be? Angelica Murillo, thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for learning incredibly important information. All right, so with that said, we invite you all to join the remaining 2 workshops in this project and share this information with families within your community. So to continue, I will pass it off to Rudy. Go ahead, Rudy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lydia. And once again, thank you, Patrick, for an informative presentation. That information is so valuable, and we really appreciate your time here. Now we're going to share the video I created when I talked with Emily Kazim. She's the Executive Director of the Long Beach Center for Economic Inclusion. You will hear her talk about a special program to help with digital inclusion around Long Beach. All right, give me 1 second. And this video will have Spanish subtitles.
Yes, hello. My name is Emily Kazim. I am a program manager with the Long Beach Center for Economic Inclusion, or LBCEI for short. And I'll share a little bit about our organization. LBCEI is a nonprofit that works to build economic resiliency in Long Beach communities, specifically Northwest, Central, and parts of downtown Long Beach. And some of the ways that we do that is we assist and support food pantries located in those areas. And we also provide additional resources to people who visit the food pantries and are part of the communities in those areas of Long Beach. One of those resources is the Digital Inclusion Initiative that I will be speaking about today. And the purpose of this program is to make sure that we close the digital divide. It's really expensive and consuming to purchase and have personal computing devices in the home. And it's also, quite frankly, a daily necessity. So we want to, Long Beach, the city of Long Beach and the nonprofits that are working with the city of Long Beach on this project want to make sure that folks who don't currently have computers and internet at home can take advantage of this program so that they can be connected digitally at home. Another aspect is that so many people right now use their phones for everything they need to do on the internet at home, because it's really difficult to, one, purchase computers, and two, have internet, so people use their data on their phone. But it's really difficult and nearly impossible to do everything that you need to do in this day and age on your phone, such as, set appointments, write papers, compose emails, pay bills. It's much easier and more convenient and efficient if you have a computer, especially if there are kids at home who do homework at home on the computer. It needs to be in person. And the way that we can do that is I can set up a time to come to the Long Beach Forward office to set up appointments with people and help them apply there. I also have office hours in my office in North Long Beach every Monday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Barring the next 2 Mondays because I will be out of the state. But for the most part, I'll be there. I'll open office hours during those hours. And my office address is 6509 Gundry Avenue. That's Long Beach 90805. And I believe that you have that information as well that you can give to people. You can also give people my phone number. I can speak rudimentary Spanish, so I can make appointments with people and answer questions. And people can reach out to me directly if they want to set up a time to meet with me to do an application. What I can share is that this program has been really fun for me to participate in. It's been really great to see people who deserve and need computers be able to receive them and be able to do necessary work at home, at the comfort of their own home, not having to go to a library or do homework at school. That's been really nice. I'll also mention that there are other organizations, other nonprofits in Long Beach who are participating in this program. So if for some reason it doesn't work out for someone to apply with me, I will gladly refer people to other organizations that are also participating. There is no termination date necessarily, but we do have a limited amount of devices, so the sooner the better. So yeah, I would encourage people to reach out to me to set up an appointment at their earliest convenience.
All right. With that being said, are there any questions we could try to answer before we move on? We hope a lot of you will take part of this opportunity and reach out to Emily for a digital device. ¿Puede poner su número? Okay.
Sarah, if you're there, can you add all of the contact info into the chat?
Hola, Rosa. Yeah, we'll have the information in the chat. It'll be posted on there, and we will follow up with folks with an email with lots of resources for them to check out that we've provided in this workshop. All right. Now I'd like to bring it back to Melissa Morgan, our communications director, for some additional resources she will share.
Thanks, Rudy. I just put information in the chat. If people are interested in the digital inclusion program, we can arrange a time for Emily to come to our office and people can come and sign up to get some free technology. So it's a really great program. This will be the second time we've been able to do this with the community. So please do click the link in the chat and we'll send this information to you in email as well as a follow-up so that you can utilize this opportunity. All righty, cool. Well, we're at an exciting moment. We're a few minutes over time. So we would like to thank all of our special guests who joined us today, as well as all those who weren't able to be here live, but recorded those videos with us, just for us. Thank you, Tara from Transitions in Motherhood, Patrick from FatherCon, and our virtual guest, Emily from LBCEI. And for those of you who have a little more time today, we have a bonus video that was created for you from Long Beach Unified School District that we'll share in just a moment. If you attended our first social media workshop, then you already saw the video. It's about 15 minutes long, so that will be our bonus content in just a moment. But before that video, I'd also like to thank our Best Start team, especially Ms. Joycelyn for her leadership and her vision for this workshop series. I see a question if there will be a recorded video for our March 18th event. We're not quite sure yet, so stay tuned. We will send you an email with information about that. It will be live and in person, but we're not sure if we'll have technology to live stream and capture the audio. Of course, we also want to thank all of you parents. We had a full house today. Thank you to the parents, families, teachers, educators, and caregivers for coming. And this was definitely a lot of information. So we hope that you'll take the time to go through the resources in the follow-up email, share this information with others. We were not able to broadcast it live on social media, but we will post the video later on today on our Facebook and on our YouTube channel. So we want to thank you all again for joining us so that we can become more digitally literate together and keep our kids safe. There are a lot of online resources to help us all navigate this online realm, and we have a list of sites that we'll share with you and email you. I am pasting some of those into the chat now. I think Sarah might be back. She can help with that. And we want to invite you to join our e-newsletter. We have monthly updates there about all these good things that are happening in community. Rudy sends that out and he curates it every month so that you get timely information about issues that impact our kids, even those little ones under the age of 5. So we have one final question for you all before we share our bonus content. We would love if you'll put in the chat, what is one word to describe your experience in today's workshop? What is one word to describe your experience in today's workshop? You can find our Facebook and YouTube channel on our website at lbforward.org. And you can find us on all of our social media at Move LB Forward. That would be on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and you can find us on YouTube under our name. So I'm seeing folks sharing that today was informative, educated, knowledge, heavy, and encouraging. Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. So at this time, we welcome families who would like to stay for the additional bonus content, about 15 minutes for our Long Beach School District video on social media tips. We'll share this video in our follow-up email as well. And for those that have to go, thanks again and have a safe weekend. Rudy, I'll send it back to you to play the video.
Thank you very much, Mel. We will now share the video brought to you by Chris Edson with Long Beach Unified School District.
So in my role as the head of marketing and media in LBUSD, I spend a considerable amount of time not only engaging on several social media platforms, but also really thinking about the complexities, the advantages, the dangers of social media, and what could possibly be next. And in a relatively short amount of time, the world of social media has not only grown exponentially, but it's now part of our modern reality, whether we use it or not. And when I'm feeling overwhelmed with this work, I often return to this quote. The first rule of social media is that everything changes all the time, but what won't change is the community's desire to network. And that last point about the community's desire to network reminds me that even with all the challenges of social media, many of these tools, if they're used appropriately, they can provide important human connections, and they can even give voice to those often left out of the conversation. Hi, I'm Chris Itzen, and I'm the Assistant Director of LBUSD's Marketing and Media Services Department, and I'm also the District Administrator who oversees social media. I'm a former classroom teacher and swim coach, and I'm also a parent of an LBUSD student. I'm really excited today to share this important information with families and caregivers in order to help support all of our students when it comes to safely and effectively using social media. So this presentation is going to touch on some of the positives and negatives of teens and social media use, and give you a brief overview of our new social media guide for students and families. So let's start by discussing a basic three-part definition of social media. Social media is a collective term for websites and applications that focus on communication, interaction, content sharing, and collaboration. 2, people use social media to keep in touch, interact with friends, family, various communities, and others that they may share similar interests with. And 3rd, businesses use social applications to promote and sell their products and track customer concerns. When it comes to most social media accounts, an individual must be at least 13 years old to use a given platform. However, many people believe there should be more stringent age restrictions, and that the usage should even be for older students, or even sometimes people say just for adults. And whether you're a parent or caregiver that allows your middle schooler or your high schooler to use a social media platform, or you're one that restricts usage, you're going to hear me say a few times today that it is vital to be aware of what's out there, regardless of your stance. So let's start by talking about some of the benefits. So the first one I would bring up is creating a positive digital footprint and digital resume early on in life. So especially around 16, students can get on LinkedIn and they can start to build a digital profile that shows to the professional world their accomplishments, their focus, their drive, and what they want to do after school.
Rudy, if you can, please
Another
add
really great
Spanish
point of social media
subtitles.
for students is free access to a massive amount of information from reliable sources. There are how-to tutorials for things like math, history, art, current events. I think about it all the time. Anytime I want to do or build something around my house, I can always go to YouTube and check that first. And there's often great resources and information that can be used. Our students have more access to information than ever before. And another way is easy access to inclusive communities they may identify with or have similar interests. There's social media groups about sports, outdoor activities, fitness, book clubs, the way you identify. There are a lot of ways that students can connect using these social networks. And I'd say another resource is sites that provide ongoing resources for affirmation, self-esteem building, and social resources. So like motivation pages, nonprofits that support various communities, resources out there that they can find on these platforms. And when used appropriately, social media allows so many options for us to connect and share information. But of course, there are a lot of downsides. So while this is not a comprehensive list, and you'll find a lot more in our social media guide that we're going to provide at the end of this presentation, here's a few things to really start with and think about, because there's some of the most pressing negative side effects for teens in social media. So the first is anonymity. There's social media websites like Lipsy, LMK Anonymous polls, Telenym, YOLO, or AMA accounts, which encourage Ask Me Anything questions from anyone on the internet. On these sites, users can almost never verify who exactly they're interacting with. So your child could be talking to somebody dangerous, somebody random, who knows. And also, teens may feel that their comments are consequence-free. They can say whatever they want, which may end up hurting others if those get out. Because just because something's anonymous doesn't mean someone can't screen capture it or figure out other ways to share it creatively, and that could come back to negatively affect your teen's future. So make sure your teen understands the risks involved with using anonymity websites. And now the big one and the popular one that most of us know, cyberbullying. Despite the efforts from many social media apps to combat bullying through improved monitoring and reporting features, cyberbullying is at an all-time high. Some examples are tea accounts or gossip accounts. Those are becoming increasingly prevalent for sharing gossip and harassing students online. So first and foremost, make sure your child understands how to report and block other users, and review our LBUSD policy about cyberbullying that we'll share for you to get to in the end of this presentation. And another big one, you may have seen the HBO show that covered this, but an issue is catfishing. And this is a term that's used for a person who poses online as someone else in order to manipulate their victims. Teens are especially susceptible to catfishing because they often friend people that they don't know, or they share too much personal information online. So talk with your student and let them know random chatting apps are not safe ever. If they're truly trying to meet new friends, it might be best to start on an app that's interest-based with text-based group forums. That's a safe way to start. Now let's talk about location tracking and sharing. These options are commonly used on social media apps and can be accessed by strangers. Turn off location settings on your child's social media accounts and check to see whether previous posts include information. Students should not be sharing where they're at all times. Many parents like to keep track of their young ones using an app like Life 360, which you can Google. In such instances, you can keep location services on only for those apps, but have them shut off for everything else. And now another really big one to be aware of are secret chat rooms, or also called private chats. They may allow for unrestricted conversations, sexual content, or hate speech. Some app examples are Discord and IMVU, and there's a lot more popping up these days. However, sometimes adolescents create a private chat room with friends on any platform to safeguard against strangers. But in general, adolescents should be very cautious about joining chat rooms and be on the alert for predatory behavior. And the last one we'll cover in this negative section is false information. The world of social media, unfortunately, includes a tremendous amount of false and misleading info. So talk with your student about how to verify using reputable sources and to always fact-check rumors they find on posts, even from their peers. All the time we have instances where a student posts something online that is untrue or unverified, and it spreads like wildfire, and students automatically believe it and get involved in things that often can negatively affect them. And I can say to you as a parent, I'm often petrified thinking about the dangers of social media. However, I'm constantly reminding myself that these tools are here to stay, and the more I know will help me ensure that my own family is safe. So I believe this quote by Nelson Mandela is the first answer to the question of how do I keep my students safe when they use social media. Educating yourself is the jumping off point in keeping your students safe online, and even in helping them use these tools in ways that can benefit them both emotionally and academically. It starts with awareness about what's out there and how teens are using social media, and also knowing where to find resources, which again, we're going to give you some resources at the end of this presentation. But from there, once you know what's going on and you have those resources, you need to think about keeping the lines of communication open with your child. And of course, modeling positive behavior on your end if you use social media. So now I'm going to share the story of our friend Dorothy. And as I share this with you, I want you to think about the big picture. What do these events tell us about kids and their social media use in 2022? So now let's meet Dorothy. As you can see, this is a Twitter post, and Dorothy is broken up and heartbroken. And she says, "I'm leaving forever. My mom took my phone. I miss you all, shaking my head, I'm crying, goodbye." And hashtag ACNL is a animal farm simulation game online. So she's tagging that and posting this out to the community that she plays this with on Twitter. Now you'll notice something significant if you look at what's circled on the slide. She's not on a phone. She's on a Nintendo 3DS image share, which is on a video game platform. So at this point, we could probably assume that her phone has been taken away, but she still found a way to connect to social media. All right, hashtag busted. So now Dorothy's mom jumps on her account and says, "I'd seen that Dorothy has been using Twitter on her Nintendo. This account will be shut down now." Good job, Mom. So Mom has stepped in. She's taken the phone. Dorothy is not. She's at home, so she's not connecting with friends. She's not using someone else's phone. She has the video game system taken away. So now she's going to have to wait while she goes through this restriction. She's off social media. But there's more. So Twitter gets involved. So the Twitter account for Twitter post hashtag free Dorothy. Now they want Dorothy back, right? Because these companies, they want kids online. They want us online, consuming constantly all the time. So they're adding a little fuel to the fire in this part. So now all of a sudden, you see Dorothy pop back up on social media and it says hashtag Wii University. "Hello, my mom took my phone and Nintendo DS, so I have no choice but to use my Wii. Thank you all for the support and love. I will answer my DMs and follow back when I have a stable connection to Twitter. Bye. Love, Dorothy." Now Dorothy's on another video game system that has an open source that can be used online to connect on social media. So even though Mom has taken phone, she's been isolated, one device has been taken away, Dorothy knows of another way to still connect and stay online. But not today, Dorothy. So now I've seen that Dorothy has been using Twitter on her Wii, and now all her devices have been taken away. So now Mom has gone scorched earth. She's taken everything. Dorothy has no way to connect. Or does she? Take a look at the next slide, because Dorothy ain't done. "I do not know if this is going to tweet. I'm talking to my fridge. What the heck, my mom confiscated all of my electronics again." And if you notice again what's circled, she's speaking to an LG Smart refrigerator. And of course, on Twitter, LG Electronics says hashtag free Dorothy. So what does this tell us? Even as Dorothy's mom was conscientious, taking away her phone, figuring out, monitoring and staying on Dorothy and taking away the video games, she found another way, because social media and all this technology is becoming more and more integrated into our daily lives. And for our current and future students, social media is part of the fabric of society. It now affects all aspects of pop culture, how most people consume information and news. And as you probably know, it's become a major part of our political culture, and it just keeps growing. In order to help you and your child navigate the safe and effective use of social media, our team has developed the LBUSD Social Media Guide for students and families. This document is a comprehensive set of resources for students and families to safely work through the complex world of social media. This interactive document is currently available at lbschools.net/media in English, and it will be available in Spanish in the spring of 2023. So as we end, let's hear from one of our staff members about what this guide has to offer you and your students. And once you get your copy, check out all of the student videos, podcasts, infographics, and more resources linked in the guide. And with that, hey Chris, take it away. Hey there. Did you know that over half of the world's population use some form of social media on a weekly basis? Whether liking a photo of a gorgeous sunset posted by a popular influencer on Instagram, or tweeting about the latest current events, or commenting on a family member's vacation photos on Facebook, it seems these days that almost everyone is connecting in the digital sphere. In a short period of time, social media has become one of the most dominant ways that billions of people communicate all over the world. And these tools are only going to grow in use and evolve over time. And spoiler alert, your student will be impacted by social media whether they use it or not. While social media platforms can be downright dangerous if used incorrectly, and can have serious consequences for those that use them inappropriately, they also can be powerful tools to support students with research and learning about current events in real time. They can help them connect with others who share similar interests, and they can even be used to build an effective digital resume in preparation for college and career. Now, the first step in supporting your students safely using social media is to do your research. And I know what you're thinking. Where do I even start? Well, our team has compiled a trove of resources to support families in navigating the complex world of social media. In the student section of this guide, you can find information on social media tips for smart social networking, safe and responsible practices, how to build a professional portfolio using LinkedIn, and social media consequences in LBUSD. Now, in the parent section, we've highlighted common social media red flags, LBUSD Board of Ed policies regarding social media use, a link to the annual LBUSD Guidelines for Parents and Students Handbook, and links to external resources such as commonsensemedia.org that provides a massive database filled with articles and statistics about social media that are designed specifically for parents or guardians and students. There's also a Resources for Parents and Families Google folder that is filled with tons of resources you can freely use to learn more about the safe use of social media. And don't forget to talk to your kids about social media use on a routine basis. As the digital world continues to grow at an exponential rate, it's vital that you are aware of how your student is using these platforms. Building an open relationship centered on trust and communication is key. What platforms are they using? What do they like about social media? Who are they friending? Who are they following? What might be some challenges they're facing? And also, be mindful of your own use of these platforms. One of the most effective ways you can support your student is by modeling safe and appropriate behavior online. So in my role,
Well, that's it. That's all, folks. We've put in the chat the link to this video if you'd like to watch it again on YouTube, as well as the family social media guide. So again, thanks everyone. Stay dry, warm, and safe out there, and enjoy your weekend. Thanks, team. Thank you to our speakers.